Hello, I'm Jim Hale. It has been an historic week in the state of Texas and the entire pro-life movement as the Texas State Legislature passed into law a heartbeat bill signed by Governor Greg Abbott, and now it is illegal in the state of Texas as of Wednesday morning to have an abortion if a heartbeat can be detected. The Supreme Court reviewed that law and has decided right now by the slim margin of 5-4 not to take up the case. And here to talk about that for some analysis and where we go from here is Peter Breen, one of America's great pro-life heroes, attorney with the Thomas More Society. Peter, what are the implications of this legislation?
Sure, and this snuck up on us a bit. Most folks thought that you'd see some court action earlier. The abortion side did appear, they dragged their feet in their challenges to this law. So they really, there were some self-inflicted wounds. I don't know if they couldn't figure out their legal strategy or what, but here we were on the eve of the law going into effect and trying to go up to the Supreme Court. And procedurally, from the legal side, this case really shouldn't have been brought in federal court. It was really better brought in the Texas state courts. And so that really is the place where the action will shift now. I know there was a lot of belly aching from the other side about how the Supreme Court should have acted. The difficulty is the law was drawn up so that the state officials wouldn't do anything under the law. So there really was no reason to bring a federal action. You have only limited reasons to go into federal court. So this is really going to have to play its way through the Texas state courts. I would say the other side is going to get their day in court. So it's not a full victory for us. It's a temporary victory. The abortion clinics are closed. That means babies' lives are being saved. But they're going to get a full day in court in the Texas state courts, though not in the federal courts.
Well, Peter, a unique aspect of this legislation is that it gives enforcement rights to ordinary citizens and not local authorities. What does all this mean?
Well, and so we've seen this sort of legislation. So the ability of an individual to enforce a law, relating to the public good, they call it a private attorney general statute. So, for instance, you'd have something where if the attorney general doesn't act, or the state's attorney or the prosecutor doesn't act, well, you can go into court and enforce that right, even on behalf of the public. The unique feature they did here in Texas was to actually cut the government official out and just give the private folks the right. And they did it for a very particular reason, as I understand it. I know the folks that wrote it, but I don't want to say that I'm revealing anything, behind the scenes. It's pretty clear to me that the other side had very particular jurisdictions where they would go file their challenges to abortion statutes. They knew the judges they would get, and they knew they'd get a good result. So here, the Texas legislators really kind of flipped the ability of the other side to do that, so that now our side could file lawsuits in more friendly jurisdictions and get better decisions maybe as you go up the chain. But again, the other side's going to get their day in court. They're just not happy with the way that it went because they don't get to go in front of maybe a judge or a set of judges that they were more friendly with, I guess, or they perceived might be more in their favor.
Okay, and so now we're going to have to wait for a citizen to actually enforce it and file a lawsuit before any more action is taken in the courts, correct?
Correct. And so what you're going to see, here's the thing. Hypothetically, if all of the abortion clinics in Texas just stop doing abortions after a heartbeat is detected about around 6 weeks, there would never need to be a challenge brought in court. You'd never need no one would ever need to file a lawsuit. None of the private attorney general lawsuits would ever need to be filed. So in theory, the law may never be challenged. But once I am presuming that someone is going to attempt to perform an abortion, then you'd have the lawsuit filed, and then we would have the challenge fought in a Texas trial court. They do whatever they're going to do, typical evidence gathering, et cetera. Go up to the Texas Court of Appeals and then possibly to their Supreme Court. And then from there, it could actually go to the United States Supreme Court because there's a federal right there, under the federal Constitution. So that process will play out. The difficulty is the other side. They have so distorted the law. We call it the abortion distortion in the law. That they want special treatment for abortion in every case. When if the issue were anything else, or particularly if the issue were something that we cared about on the right, on the more conservative side of things, they'd say, no, you go to the back of the line, you take forever. For them, they want to rush right to the front, and everything's an emergency because it deals with their cherished right of abortion. So if anything, they're getting the same treatment that any other sort of lawsuit, with any other issue in this particular case. So kudos to Texas for drafting the law the way they did. Look, we got 50 states, so we have 50 different ways of dealing with the abortion issue. I would say this though: the reason that we're in this weird posture, and maybe the reason states have to do creative things like this, is it all goes back to the Supreme Court creating a right to abortion out of nothing. Abortion doesn't appear in the federal Constitution for most of this country's history. Abortion was illegal. So it all goes back to that. So really, that's where I would lay, if there's any complaint about the law, it goes back. The only reason it's done that way is because the Supreme Court did the wrong back in '73.
And now the big headline today in the mainstream media is that President Biden says that he will bring the whole force of the federal government down on the state of Texas. What in the world do you think that means?
Well, I could probably make a comment about I wish he'd done something like that with Afghanistan to get our people out before he botched that. For heaven's sakes, this guy's I don't want to be overly uncharitable to our president, but he's got better things to worry about than whether little children should be able to be killed after they have a heartbeat. I think he should probably be dealing with other issues. We know he's pro-choice on abortion. We know he's going to promote that agenda, but there's nothing the federal government should be doing against Texas because they make a different decision than other states do in terms of regulating abortion.
So, Peter, what do we make of the Supreme Court right now? It was a 5-4 decision with Roberts dissenting, joining with the liberals again. What do we make of Justice Roberts?
And I don't. It's tough to see with him because we know, we in the pro-life community know. He has personal family ties to the pro-life movement. We know he is personally pro-life. I don't think that position has. As much as he's, it's clear he's changed some of his emphasis maybe now that he's a Chief Justice. No one believes that to be changed. So I guess I still hold out hope that on a direct challenge like is provided in the Mississippi lawsuit later this year, that he'll recognize the same. He'll take the position that he has held himself, both personally and professionally, for so many years. His family members were actual pro-life. People inside the pro-life movement. It's no secret. I would say this. It was interesting to me that the 5 justices decided to let this stand, let the law be. It is the correct decision procedurally, but you figure if they knew in a year or so, whenever they decide the Mississippi case, they're going to uphold the current abortion jurisprudence, that they might have seen their way to putting a hold on this Texas case, because it was just an interesting posture to go up in front of them. Again, it was the correct decision, but as we've seen sometimes, folks can shade a little bit, or maybe they could say, well, this is and Chief Justice Roberts, his argument was this type of law where you do a private attorney general without the attorney general is so unique, we should issue an injunction. Now, as to who the injunction should be against or how, he didn't quite say in his opinion. And that was part of the problem here. There's no one to enjoin. There was no one for the Supreme Court to act against, really, right properly. So I guess I still hold out hope that Chief Justice Roberts will come with us on the Mississippi case. But yeah, imagine this. Imagine that this Texas law stays in effect and the other side doesn't really challenge it. And our second largest state in the union, something like 29 million people live there, is almost abortion free for a year. until they decide the Mississippi case next door, uh, that would really, that could be an incredible help to those, maybe the reticent justices who might be saying, well, I don't know if I want to overturn Roe v. Wade, what have you. But you sit there and go, well, second largest state in the country wants it banned, nearly banned. Why don't we just go ahead and do this? Because, if anything, right now, the Supreme Court is holding back they're the trying to hold back this dam that's got all these cracks in it, this old abortion regime. Just let it be. Let the states that want to regulate abortion do the work that they want to do. And then let the states, I'm sitting in one right now. Illinois, unfortunately, has embraced this full-term abortion madness, even though the people of the state don't really support that radical a regime on abortion.
Well, Peter, I got to say, I've been so discouraged in recent years. And like you said, this Texas legislation just seemed to come out of nowhere. But I want to ask you, you're one of those guys in the pro-life movement that is just always optimistic. It always seems like you're always hoping and looking on the bright side. How do you do it?
Oh boy, that is tough, Jim. I mean, it's you do your best. I got to tell you, through this whole, I will say this, that one thing I've seen through this whole COVID business is I have, every time I can, have tried to just take a little extra grace with everyone I'm dealing with every situation I'm in the middle of, understand that my friends and neighbors, I mean, we've all been impacted by this. And it was, it's almost rewired our brains to some extent. And I look at it and say, are there horrible things happening? Yes. Oh my goodness. Have you seen what they're trying to do in the schools and all these mandates and just the craziness, but boy, there's a wonderful future here. A future of, look, you're going to be able to work from home anywhere in the world. You can affiliate and associate with anybody you like. We can reach out and chat with each other like we're in the same room, and soon enough we'll have our little VR goggles. We may not even need goggles. It'll be like we're sitting across from each other having a cup of coffee. So that is an incredible future. And our little kiddos, I've got two little guys, 5 and now almost 3. They're going to be in an incredible world where they can do it's going to be spectacular what they can do. And so for those of us who have faith, we are going to be able to exercise it in ways that we've never even imagined. And so I look at these problems and almost say, these are transitory issues that human ingenuity with the good Lord's grace are going to transcend almost. So that's really where I take a little hope on the temporal side. I do my best, and then just, we muddle through like everybody else. We've got I don't know, but Jim, we were talking before we went on about David Daleidon's cases, which have been such a difficult struggle, and it's been tough. But we've won victories even in the toughest jurisdictions. We've won smaller victories. We've still got to get some bigger ones, but we've been winning victories throughout COVID, getting churches opened. In situations where we thought we had no chance, we are winning victories and winning allies and finding folks that are like us in the most unlikely places. New York City, we've got people popping up, and supporters we never knew we had, people that are coming forward everywhere in the country. So I don't know. That's how I really, as much as we always focus on the negative, it's a human thing. We focus on the negative. When you look at the positive, for heaven's sakes, we've got incredible positives.
Well, Peter, thank you for that explanation. We all need some optimism right now, and thank you to the Thomas More Society. You and your team are indeed pro-life heroes. I got to see you guys in action a couple of years ago at the David Daleidon trial when you and your crew just made absolute mincemeat out of the San Francisco DA and all of her lieutenants, no matter how that decision went. So God bless you. Thank you for being with us today. We appreciate it, and we hope to talk to you again soon, hopefully with more good news.
Hey, thank you, Jim. It was great to be with you.